So in order to understand fully what meditation is, because we all have an understanding of meditation, but as a Raja Yogi, I've been trained in an eight-step, eight-limb system that's been around thousands of years. And meditation is the seventh step of that eight-step process. And in these days, it's called the Kali Yuga in the Vedas. And the Vedas are one of the first um, orally shared, but it's one of the first systems that came out of India and probably one of the first languages on the planet, certainly one of them, if not the first. And Sanskrit is a vibrational language, so that when you speak the words, the vibration of the word, the resonance itself, carries the meaning. Now, that's different than our English, of course, because in English, it's a memorized meaning. Um, Also, a side note about that, which I found very interesting when I was first studying meditation, was English is the laziest language on the planet. We don't use our tongue very much. And because of that, it doesn't stimulate the vagus nerve and also all the nerves that go from the brain down the brain stem into the spine, all over the body. But Sanskrit is a vibrational language and you have to use your tongue. And it is amazing when you do certain chants, you can actually feel your whole throat and tongue vibrating. So English is not a healthy language because it doesn't stimulate the brain and the nervous system, and it doesn't resonate or create a sound that, depending on the particular frequency of the sound, like Sanskrit, will vibrate specific organs and glands. And of course, the pineal gland being one of the most important, hypothalamus gland. And the Sanskrit, when we're doing mantras or we're just talking, it's not a spoken language anymore. But when we're speaking Sanskrit, chanting Sanskrit, because you would sing Sanskrit. It wasn't a spoken language. Again, English is more of a spoken language, although Elizabethan English was more sing-songish. So Sanskrit is a language and it creates a vibration that literally recharges the body, vibrates different organs and glands in our system, and it's quite phenomenal. So now meditation. Back when meditation first became part of an eight-step process, the world was much different than it is now. Far less people. The humans were living much more in harmony with nature. And now that we're way far away from that, we're living in an artificial society. And this society that we're living in, and I'm going to speak about it as a Raja Yogi, it doesn't know how to attune us to the unified field. Everything has a source. Everything has to start somewhere. Every single religion points to it in some way or speaks about it in some way. Each have their own approach to it. But there's a source. And that source, in yoga, we call that the unified field, the Akashic energy. So this unified field is where everything starts from. Out of the unified field, things manifest. It just doesn't come from unified field and then boom, the world and our bodies and society. There's a series of what I'll call step down converters. So from the unified field, out of the unified field, and of course in the Bible and in other systems they'll say God. So God was first, and out of God came the sound, and the sound was in all of these things. The unified field is the source of all things. I'm going to speak about it as a yogi, so I'm speaking about it as a vibration, a resonance. So the unified field has a particular sound, feeling, effect. If we can attune ourselves to the unified field, and this was always exciting to me, that our brain and our body and every organ in our body, when it is attuned to that unified field, it operates with an energy, a wisdom, a it puts us in a position where we can act, we can interact with each other in a way that doesn't cause separation. So for a yogi, there's two states. There's being aligned to the unified field, and then there is the possibility, especially as humans, we can get out of sync with the unified field. It's how we're trained, the society we live in, um, the types of food even that we eat can take us out of this vibrational field where we're connected to the unified field. Now, our body, our energetic system, our mental body, these three vehicles were designed to operate perfectly in the unified field. And there's only one thing that can keep each one of us from feeling a part of everything, that allows us to flow with the moment, that allows us to not project what we want onto something, but rather because we are in harmony with it, that we act in harmony, which puts us in relationships with others that will always create a win-win. The problem is the mind, the mind of a human being. As human, we have self-reflection, more so than anything that we're aware of on this planet. And there's mammals, and there's my dogs, porpoises, dolphins, whales. I mean, there's consciousness in everything. So there's a way of interacting in harmony, but the human body, mind, has more self-reflection than any other species. This is a good point, but it's also one of the challenges for us. Because if our mind isn't trained, the mind can form concepts. It's called sanskaras in Sanskrit, but the mind can form habits that are not in alignment with the unified field. And for anyone who unified field seems too scientific, just God, because as as Swamiji said many years ago, he said, I'm from India, so God to me isn't a person, but I understand in your traditions, God's a person. He said, doesn't matter, but God is an acronym to me. And so that got our attention. So God, G-O, go, D, deep. So with our minds, we can train our minds so that the mind stays in sync with the unified field, higher power, anything that you'd like to call that, it's fine. How do we get out of the unified field? We have a body, we have a mind, the world, there's all of the people we know in the world, billions now. Why aren't we in harmony with each other? Why are there so many people who want to inflict their concepts on someone else? And I'm not here in the least bit to say that's a good concept, that's a bad concept. That's not my topic. My topic is if we align ourselves with our source, we are the recipient of wisdom automatically. What flows through us will be automatically in sync with what we're interacting with. That's remarkable to me. And that got my attention right away when I first started this 5 decades ago. So Raja Yoga is a 8 step process that trains the mind to stay in sync with the unified field. That's cool. Now, Rod and I are performing an experiment with this. We have decided that we want to be in the world, be of service. As I know all of you here, I know that you are also of that type, that you think of others, that your heart is wide open, that you have a capacity to love. So why is it that so many people now are not keeping their hearts open? Why is it that there's so much conflict? Why is it that everyone's got an opinion and the opposing opinions seem to be perfectly orchestrated to collide together and create a rather challenging situation? So, in order to talk about meditation, we have to talk about first the unified field. Something that has never had a beginning, it'll never have an end. That's mind-blowing. What, how can our mind understand something that never had a beginning and will never have an end? It's infinite. There's no way for the mind to understand it. Thus, everyone's got a concept about it, which is okay. That's what the mind does, is create concepts. But here's the question. Does your mind, in its creation of concepts, create harmony? Or does the thoughts that we hold in our mind create separation, thus pain and suffering? All right, so we've got the basic format. This is really the foundation of Raja Yoga. We have to understand first, as a human being, we have these three vehicles. They were created to resonate, to vibrate in harmony with the universe, physical universe, mental universe, and the infinite. Okay, next question should be, how do I do that? This is the interesting thing. You don't have to do anything. It's natural. It's part of it's embedded. It's baked into our human experience. Huh. All right, Gopal. So you just told me that it's natural and there's nothing that we have to do in order to experience it. How come the world is so crazy right now? Why are people taking their beliefs and slamming it in the face of other people? Why is there so much violence? Why isn't heaven on earth right now? Raja Yogis know. You're always connected to the unified field. You cannot disconnect from it. But wow, can we screw it up? We can create thoughts that cause the mind to spin. And when the mind spins, depending on the contents of the mind, that becomes our reality. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. Especially in this day and age, conspiracy theories, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's okay, it's like if you want to have them, it's okay. But can you have them and be in the unified field? Can you have conspiracy theories and not use them to hammer someone else? Not many people can do that. That's why I wanted to have this conversation with you all tonight. The unified field is our source. All things come from it. Our mind, our energetic body, and our physical body is designed to vibrate healthfully in the unified field. You will, I mean, it depends on our genetics, there's many other things, but I'm talking about when it first happened. There was no pollution on the planet when this first humans were walking around. So the physical body and our minds is automatically driven, controlled by, connected to a recipient of wisdom that comes from the unified field. And everyone here has had moments of intuition where you didn't think it, but you knew something and it happened. All right. So how come we're not all in the unified field? How come we're not all just listening to each other's theories and enjoying each other's minds? And maybe we eat different food, and maybe we have different ideas and different religions. All that's okay. I mean, that's not a problem. So what's the problem? If the mind is not trained, it will spin out of control. It will project onto your moment the contents of the mind. You will project what you believe onto the moment. That's not the way it's supposed to be. A mind that is connected to that unified field will always be in sync with everything that's happening in our life. You will know whether to eat that food. You will know how much of that food to eat. You will know that, no, my body doesn't want that. That's something Rod and I have trained ourselves. Thank you to the yogis who we studied with. We really don't know what we're going to eat until at least an hour before, because then our body tells us what it needs. Now, if I listen to my mind, it'll be eggplant parmesan every other day. So I don't listen to my mind. I kind of get my mind to say, okay, yeah, eggplant parmesan's great, but we can only have it maybe once every couple months, and let's not go overboard on this. And so I listen to what my body has to say. And if my mind is clear, not always it's that way, but I'm talking about in good moments. If my mind is clear, it will know what is best for me in the moment. That's the experiment that Rod and I have been. Back when I was a monk, it was a little different. I was focusing much more on getting connected and being open and training my mind so it can receive the consciousness that it's designed to process, and therefore allow my little individuality to act and interact in the world in such a way that it stays peacefully flowing. So, what do we do that is creating a world where so many people are opposed to each other? Where so many people have such strong beliefs? Nothing wrong with that. But my belief is better than your belief. My belief is right. Your belief is wrong. That's where the problems come. That to me is the challenge in the world. Missed opportunities. All right. So you're automatically connected all the time. Take a deep breath, relief. That should make us all feel great. And then the next moment we should be asking, what is it that I'm doing that's creating a disconnect? So I'm not feeling unity. I'm not feeling like I can travel through the world and I will act appropriately. There are people I don't want to be around. That's okay. I don't have to make them wrong. I can just move in a way where I just don't interact with them. It's all about the mind. How is your mind? We had years ago, Sherry will remember this, probably Mel too, but I found this cartoon of a little baby, not a baby, but probably about a 2 year old, and it had just like a disturbed look on its face. And underneath, because back then, do you remember where it says it's 9 o'clock? Do you know where your children are? Is any of you old enough to remember that? Okay, yeah, you're all youngsters. But it was big in the States, at least in New Jersey when I grew up. And it would come on, it says, it's 7:30. Do you know where your children are? So anyway, I superimposed that, and on this picture of this disturbed little 2 year old, I put, it's 7 o'clock. Do you know where your mind is? Meant to make light of something that's very important. The mind is a divine instrument. It's a it's an incredible instrument. You want to know how incredible the mind is? The mind and the brain are the same thing, only the brain is more physical and the mind is much more subtle. So when you think of how the brain operates and how it controls this body of ours, it's really phenomenal. I mean, it's amazing to me that after 77 years, the cells are all reproducing and not getting mad at each other and not causing all kinds of problems. But that's the way it was designed. So let's find out how we can train our mind so that it remains in harmony with the unified field. That's Raja Yoga. It's all about the mind. You are always connected. So, how do I, but I'm asking you too, how do you create the agitation that if you're not aware enough, you'll project out into the world and you'll actually believe someone else is making you unhappy? You'll actually believe, depending on what side of the political thing you're on, irrelevant to this talk, but you'll be disturbed. Ah, I'm disturbed. I'm not in the unified field. Oh, okay. I have a choice. I'm going to blame that person because they don't match my expectations and concepts. Or I'm going to realize that somehow I'm not downloading consciousness that will allow me to know what's right, what's wrong, to know what's best for me. I don't mean for others, by the way, when I say right and wrong. I mean, what's best for me to operate? That's why I use the example of food. You have to train your mind. Now, you all remember in first and second grade where they taught you how to calm your mind and breathe deeply. And if you're upset, to realize that first you have to calm yourself down and then you can speak. Yeah, right. Although I bet a couple out there who have kids trained your children that way. I have the good fortune of working with kids. We started the Space Gypsy Cadet Training Program. So we got about 6 kids we work with, and they're training. Little Emmett, who is now 12 years old. No, 11 years old. No, Rhoda told me. No, he is 12 years. Little Emmett's 12 years old. He's been meditating now for 3 years, and he has a journal. So he's got bunk beds. Below is this whole little work area, and he jumps up on his bed. Before he goes to bed at night, he does 15 minutes of meditation. And at the end of it, he writes down and he keeps a log. So every time I work with him, I work with him a half hour every 2 weeks. He comes up and he shows me his journal and all the entries in it. Cool, cool. But we didn't have that opportunity. The only reason that there is pain and suffering in the world is that there's enough people out there who have untrained minds, and each one of them is projecting their concept onto their family or friends or society. It's sad. It's really sad. Okay, so we got the basic foundation. So you're always connected. How do you personally, uniquely, like no one else, screw your mind up? It takes a lot of work to screw up a mind, but it can be done. So Raja Yoga comes in. Yam Niyam Asan Pranayam Pratyahara Dharana Dhyan Samadhi, 8 steps. The first 2 steps basically say, okay, if you're going to start playing video games where you get to shoot a gun and kill people, it's going to create a disturbing energy inside your mind. Your mind is going to not be clear and not be a clear channel for the consciousness that is pure, not mental. We have a mind, we're not the mind. That's part of the basis of this. Now, that's important to remember. We have a mind, we're not the mind. So if you fill your mind with thoughts and activities that disturb it, your mind literally starts to spin. It's called vritti vortex. The mind starts spinning. Now, in a lake, if the lake is clear, let's say it's 6 feet down and you're in a rowboat and you can see all the grasses and the little fishy floating around and everything, and you drop your ring into the water, and you can see it going down there, and you get really upset. And so you start splashing the water to try to get to it. What happens to the water? You won't see the ring anymore because it'll start churning. And when it churns, it deflects, and you don't see things where they are. That's like the mind. When the mind is waveless, the word in Sanskrit is narod. When the mind has no vritti, no vortex, no spinning. One of the first things I do when I work with people is to get them to understand that when the mind spins, it creates stories. Now, these stories are based upon your belief system. That's all you can do. Your belief system. It clouds and muddies the mental water, so you are not able to stay in sync with the unified field. Intuition, someone who has that sensitivity and knows when things are happening, or knows the appropriate thing to say to someone, knows when to talk, when not to talk, seems to be in sync with other people. That's someone who has worked on, at some point, creating a mind that's clear. Then, what's ever placed into a clear mind, the mind surrounds that, and you experience it and you understand it for what it is, not what you want to make it. So there's two states. There's projecting what you believe onto the world, and there's just being in a quiet, peaceful place so information comes in and you know it. That's why meditation is not what you think. Thought are waves in the mind. Okay. So what people call meditation isn't actually meditation. Let me show you. Yam Niyam, those are the first two steps in Raja Yoga. Basically, what those two are is if you do this, you will create agitation in your mind. For example, it's the Ten Commandment thing. If you lie, you have to remember the lie. So tell the truth, even if the truth hurts. But if you lie, then you have to remember you lie, and the next time you have to remember what lie you said to that person, and then maybe another lie, and you told this, and next thing you know, you're all twisted around. So what the yams and the yams basically say is, okay, let's just relax here. Let's just tell the truth. Watch when your mind wants to go out and grab it. Maybe it's not the best thing for you. Why don't you just feel it and see if it's the best way to act in the world? So those are the moral tenets. What not to do and what to do, the first two steps. The third step's pretty cool. That's the pranayama. Yam niyam asan, excuse me, asan. The next step is, please would you keep your body comfortable? Really, 15 cups of coffee a day, caffeinated, it's not going to help. Right? There's certain food, depending on your blood type and your culture, but there's certain food that you can ingest that will keep your body healthy, your energy clear, and your mind waveless. And there's other food that you can eat that causes a disturbance in the body, which will automatically cause a disturbance in your mind, the mind-body connection. So yam niyamasan, pranayam. Then the nature of how you breathe determines the quality of your thoughts. It also completely determines the state of the physical body. So breath work is really important. You learn how, and I'm sure all of us do that. We even tell our kids that. If someone's upset, what's one of the first things we'll say? Besides, don't be upset. That's never a good way of doing it. But just say, okay, why don't you take a deep breath? Just let it out slowly. Maybe blow it out through your mouth if you have to. I know you're upset. Take a couple deep breaths, and what happens immediately is the oxygen levels increase, the carbon dioxide oxygen levels decrease. The brain, which gets the blood directly from the heart, it goes right to the brain, then it goes to the rest of the body. The brain then, with a lot of oxygen, it does something like, Oh, oh, that feels good. Oh, it's not so bad, is it? High oxygen levels in the blood. Well, not high, but proper oxygen levels in the blood makes the blood alkaline. The alkaline blood goes to the brain and it literally triggers the frontal lobe of the brain so that you become more receptive. You become more sensitive. You don't rely on thoughts to figure things out. You just kind of chilled a bit and it appears. So, yam and niyam, asan, pranayam. So, there's a whole series of breathing techniques that are designed to allow you to control your mind. Wow. It's going on about 55 years now. And I can't help but look back. What a nutcase I was. I was like this crazy Italian kid. My mind was going all over the place. Now, I was a caring person. Didn't matter though. My mind was spinning. I was making up stories about everything. I had a, give me a situation, I'll give you 10 stories. But when I realized that when I'm agitated and upset, my breath is short and shallow, which creates more carbon dioxide, which creates acidity, and acidity goes to the brain and it triggers the fight or flight. Where are we in the world right now? There's a lot of fight and flight going on. There are people who don't like each other. And there are bad people in the world. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. My question is why? Or rather, my understanding is they're not connected to the unified field. They haven't been trained. And it's not even their fault. You can't blame them. They were not trained. You have enough fight or flight going on in your brain. Your mind is hardwired. It's the same thing. It's just a different frequency, but it's the same exact thing, the mind and body, the mind and the brain. And so if you have high CO2 levels, it means the mind is going to be spinning a lot. And if it spins a lot, it creates a story that doesn't match reality completely. It's not in harmony with the moment. You're projecting your mind onto the situation. Yam niyama san pranayam. Pratyahara. Now, this is a big one. This is right before we get towards meditation now. The next thing that Raja Yoga says is that if you're always running after things, basically, it would be if you're looking for love in all the wrong places, that would be an example. So if you think you're not enough and you need something in order to feel enough, you're trapped. If I need the person in charge of some country to match my expectations, phew, I'm in trouble. And then if I'm not aware, I'll blame that person for disturbing me. Oy. I would say that's probably the condition of the world right now. How many people have taken sides and this is good and that's bad? Nothing wrong with that. There are bad things in the world, no doubt. There are people who are not good people, no doubt about it. But are you waveless? Is your mind clear? Or are you projecting your concepts on the situation? Swamiji Satchidananda had a good one about that, and I've said this many times, but you can always tell when you go, well, you're really upsetting me. And you point the finger at someone. And Satchidananda would say, all right, hold that. All right, maybe that person is one quarter a problem, but three quarters of the problem are you. So you're actually pointing at the problem, and that's us. And what he meant by that was when you're running after things because you believe you need them in order to have peace, you're trapped. Right now, the kind of date where we are when anyone looks at this on YouTube and Thank you, Stephen, for editing all of this. Let me put my arms down for a minute. He might want to edit that out. Um, the step is simple. Notice when you're running after things and just ask yourself, why do I need this? Someone recently said, I miss my wife, newly married. I thought that was so sweet, right? So I said to him, I don't think he took offense, but I hope he didn't. And I said to him, well, do you need your wife for your own peace, or are you in a peaceful state of mind and you just miss your wife because you're married and you love her? And he stopped and he thought about it for a minute. He goes, no, no, I'm not upset. I go, well, that's nice. That's love. Pratyahara is not needing things outside of you in order to feel safe and secure, in order to feel peaceful. So the literal translation of pratyahara is to remove the senses from the sense objects. That's the real scientific definition of it. What it means for all of us is we're human beings. We're meant to play in the world. We're meant to help each other. We're meant to be there when people are hurting, all of these things. But we don't do it because we want to feel better. We don't need to do it to feel better. We just do it because our heart's open and we're caring, loving people. So I'm sure all of us, and you can actually do this. Swami Satchidananda would say, he was great. He would say, make a list of all the things you need. Everything you need. You have to have these things, otherwise you're upset. And he said, as long as the list is, that's how far away from the unified field you are. Woo. I didn't have a list. I had like one of those scrolls that, went on forever. All right. So we begin to recognize when we need something in order to feel better. I need to put that person down because it makes me feel big. Pratyahara would say, your mind's probably making up stories. Your mind isn't clear. So I don't know if you're downloading the wisdom from the unified field. I don't know if that pure consciousness hasn't gone through all your filters and you've kind of torqued it enough so it doesn't have a lot of wisdom in it. It might have a little bit, but not the full amount. As human beings, we're meant to be in perfect synchronicity with everything that goes on, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It doesn't mean it's a utopia where everything is just wonderful, Shangri-La. No, this is an ever-changing field. Nothing remains the same. If you need things to remain the same or to be a certain way for your own peace, well, in Raja Yoga, they're going to say, oh, you're trapped. Oh, hold on to your meditation pillow because you're going for a ride. All right. So we got the first, that's the foundation. Begin to train your mind not to run after things. Begin to train your mind so that it thinks more calmly. It doesn't jump to making stories. It doesn't jump to conclusion. It's not reactive. These first steps help us to create a mind that's more responsive, appropriately responding to situations. I love the word react because there's a lot of reaction going on in the world now. React. Get it? You're not in the moment. You are reacting, which means you acted that way before, and now you have this little rubber stamp and you react. You just do it over and over again. What's that saying? Doing the same thing over and over again? It's not Einstein who said it, apparently, but it's still a good statement. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. How many times has a marriage counselor said, well, if she would or if he would just change, my life would be better? All right. We've got the five. Now we're going for the three last ones, 7, 6, 7, and 8. What people call meditation is concentration. In order to get your mind so that it can be clear enough so you will know, you will have wisdom about situations, you will act appropriately, you need a calm, clear mind. So the sixth step is called dharana, concentration. So, how do you get a mind that's agitated? How do you get it to be calm? I watch television. Okay. I have a drink. Okay. I go for a run. Okay. Why do so many people have all of these activities? Because it forces their mind to concentrate. You can be upset. If I'm weird about this, raise your hand or something if it's not your experience, but you can be a little bit feeling off and watch a movie and feel okay afterwards because you concentrated your mind on something. You kept your mind focused and your mind wasn't spinning. Watch the next time you have a heated argument or debate with someone. Your mind's not clear. You're going to feel the agitation. And if you step back enough, you can actually experience your mind spinning. That's called vritti. So this step is a really important one. What you do is you focus your mind. Now, as far as I know, I've never heard any meditation teacher ever say that one of the best techniques to focus your mind is to watch movies. Unless they said peaceful movies. That would help, but it's still a movie. So we need to find something at this stage in order to calm the mind. And we want a calm mind because that clear mind doesn't project its stories out onto the situation. A clear mind receives the situation and using your wisdom is able to make conclusions or discriminates in a way that keeps you in the unified field. That's what we're talking about here. I'm not there all the time. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I'm still practicing. I'm not there all the time. But what I do know is if I start to get upset, I know what I have to do to calm my mind, to get my mind clear again. Conrad Hilton, Hilton Hotels, before he made any decision on what hotel to buy or not to buy, he'd do all his due diligence. He had plenty of people tell him everything, and then he had to make the decision. And well, you know what he would do before he made the decision? Told the secretary, no calls, no one walks in the office. He was a meditator. And he would not think about what he had to do. He would first use whatever techniques he used. I never really read what technique he used, watching his breath, mantras, but he called it meditation. So I know it had to be something that was in that family. He would wait until his mind was perfectly clear. He would come out of his meditation state. You should read his autobiography. It's interesting how he describes it, or his biography. I think it's a biography. And then he would look at the hotel and all the spreadsheets, and he would know whether to buy it or not. The mind is designed to receive information from the unified field. It's remarkable. It works. But it takes so much practice to train your mind to stop running after things, to stop getting fixated, to stop making up stories or try to be with people who match your concepts. Whew, it takes a lot of work. So, concentration is the step that most people call meditation. It's not. Concentration is the practice of every time your mind goes somewhere, you bring it back and you focus. And then the mind runs off here and you bring it back and you focus. And you just keep focusing and focusing and focusing until the puppy dog mind gets it. Oh, you want me to sit. Stay. It's the first thing we taught Lucy and Gracie. Sit, stay. I tell my mind that all the time. Matter of fact, when we go to sit and meditate, the dogs are really great. I'll say, okay, everyone, time to sit and meditate. And the dogs come running from wherever they are. And we all go in wherever we're going to sit and stay. And we have our practice of meditation. But the first step is concentration. You've got to train your mind to go neutral. And what is remarkable about that is it does take a lot of energy in the beginning to train a mind that's not been trained to just stay on one thing and not wander away. And when I say one thing, that's why I use the idea about the movie. It's not a moving target, it's one thing. Breath is a simple one. You just watch your breath, right? Breath goes in, breath goes out. And you're just watching the breath go in and out until you don't. And next thing you're creating some podcast about breath and how powerful it is, and you realize, right, just watch the breath going in, the breath going out. A clear mind is the recipient of everything that you need to deal with the moment. All right, so that's dharana. Dhyan. Dhyan, which we call meditation, but that's very English. Dhyan means attention on the knower. What does that mean? That's meditation? That sounds like really way out there. Mm-mm. When you concentrate your mind and when your mind goes waveless, when the mind is in a complete state of clarity, the next step is try this right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Listen to my voice as I'm speaking. I'm going to give you an instruction in a moment. Now, answer these questions inside your head. Can you hear me speaking right now? Do you know that I'm speaking right now? Who knows that? All right, open your eyes. The mind is not you. You are a conscious being. You, me, as consciousness, have no beginning and end. We're infinite. We are part of the unified field. No one's ever separate from God. But the concepts they hold may prevent them from experiencing the love, the divinity, the synchronicity, the wisdom, the intuition, the emotional availability. As Ram Dass put it, a really cool guy who I knew many years ago, be here now. Just be in the moment. But here's the point. When you heard my voice, you were listening to my voice. Who was listening to my voice? Your mind. And your mind took the words I said and it put meaning to them. Maybe it was the meaning I was meaning you to have, and maybe it wasn't. Doesn't matter. But your mind was thinking about what I was saying. It was hearing it. And who knew that? Something that is finer than the mind. The observer of the mind. The part of us that knows, oh, I just cut myself. You don't say, I'm a cut. No, you say, I have a cut. You don't say, well, some people will say, I'm hungry. Isn't that interesting? But that's incorrect. It may be, kind of way people talk, but it's incorrect. You're not hungry because you're not a bag of flesh and bones. Your body is hungry. If you say, I have a headache. That's not true. I know there's a headache. That's correct. So there's two things. Now we're talking about meditation. Meditation is the training where you are able to step back and observe your mind. Cool. It's called self-reflection. The more aware people that I've come across have a lot of self-reflection. I'm working on that one. If I start getting upset because Rada said something and it didn't match my expectation, I want to have enough self-reflection to realize my mind is upset. It may want to project it out onto Rada and blame her for being the cause of my upsetness. Not true. It's nice it's doing this as a couple because you can't get away with it, especially when you have another meditator and a yogi in the family. So there's two things to every experience. There's what your mind thinks, and there's you who knows your mind is thinking. If there is no space between what you think and your ability to self-reflect, you are bound in the mind. Most people are so intermingled in their conceptual mind that there's very little wisdom that flows through them. There's very little harmony that they create in their life. They're in opposition to things all the time. That doesn't mean you have to agree with everyone. We're not saying that at all. And that doesn't mean that there are people there who I don't want to particularly listen to. We're not talking about that. We're speaking about within our own consciousness. How you doing? Is your mind clear enough? So in the moment that you begin to feel uncomfortable, agitated, are you aware enough to know that that's because your mind is spinning? Do you know the techniques to concentrate the mind, to watch the breath, to control yourself and slow everything down, and then step back enough so you can observe your agitation? Now there's two things there. There's your agitated mind, and there's you that knows the mind is agitated. At that moment, if there's enough distance between those two, you have the ability for the mind to become quiet in 3 breaths. Just imagine that. You're upset because someone said something or did something not nice to you. So we're not talking about, you don't have validity. But the question is, are you dealing with it with a clear mind? Are you dealing with it in a way that creates harmony for you? Or do you end up being agitated? Agitation keeps you from downloading the wisdom that comes from the unified field. Now close your eyes, if they're not already, because our mind is concentrated. For those who've been listening to my words, I've been crafting them so that it allows your mind to become quieter. I'd like you to look at that. How is your mind? Is it agitated? Are you having lots of thoughts? Or is it quiet? Now, here's the question. This is meditation, what I'm about to say. Do you know that you're not the mind? Are you the observer of your mind right now? Now, there's a real tricky point many of you are experiencing right now. When the mind is not thinking, most people fall asleep. Avoid the tendency, at least for the next couple minutes. When the mind is waveless, chit vritti narod. No vritti, no vortexes in the mind. The mind is calm. There can be gentle waves, but there's no disturbance. And that moment, you have the ability to experience yourself as the conscious being. That's not the mind. That is meditation. Yes, you have to have a concentrated mind. That then creates a clear, waveless mind, but that's not the step. Although most people stop there because they're still in training. The next step is to know I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm the observer of my body and mind. The more knower in your life, the less agitation. The more knower in your life, and I'm using that word, drishti, because the knower is important to use a term that's useful. The knower knows. You're the knower. You're the conscious being. You're not the contents of your mind. You have a mind, you're not the mind. Clear the mind and you begin to experience yourself as infinite, as available, as open. You're willing to hear what others have to say because you don't have to project your concepts onto them. This is not uniformity. So begin deep breathing, watch the breath, but here's the challenge. As you're breathing, know you're the one watching the breath. There'll be somewhat of your bandwidth in watching the breath, but I want you to know that you're different than the breath. Be gentle. Sit up tall because when the mind goes quiet, that's usually when people fall asleep. But when the mind is waveless, you, the knower of the mind, awakens. Aham Brahm. I am that. I am one in the unified field. Tat Twamasi. Thou art that. We are the knower of our life. We have a mind, body, family interactions, and we are the knower of our life. Knower I am. This is meditation. And if the mind wanders, nothing's wrong. As soon as you know that, go back to the breath, repeat a mantra, but keep reminding yourself meditation is not spacing out. Meditation is putting your attention on the conscious being you are. And that's beyond the limitations of the mental field. Thou art that. Please notice the quality of the knower. There's a vibrational difference between thinking and knowing. You are the knower, not the thought. So slowly now, take deeper breaths, but I want you to remain in the practice of meditation, where as you slowly come back in a few moments, opening the eyes, see if you can hold on to the feeling of the knower. Knower is expansive. Knower is non judgmental. Knower knows, doesn't have to think. Knower is our true self. Now, we could stay in this state much longer, but I want you to come out slowly as part of the exercise. So begin to take deep breaths, but remain in that aware state. I am knower. You know how you feel right now. You know the condition of your mind. Two things: mind and the one who knows what's in the mind. When you're peaceful, do you know you're peaceful? Knower is beyond words. You never disconnect from your true self. It's only the condition of the mind that reflects it or distorts it. Your choice. If your eyes are still closed, rub your hands before you open them and create some heat. The transition from meditation to waking state, do it slowly. Cup the hands over the eyes, the palms over the eyes. Do you know your palms are over your eyes? That's the knower. Then, when the heat dissipates, gently massage your eyelids, your eyebrows. And when you open your eyes, just sit there and take in what's in front of you. Notice the room. Notice the colors, but do it in meditation. So you are knowing the room has colors. You're not the room. These are challenging times. There are so many people who have become identified with the contents of the mind And no two minds think alike. And the more you believe that you are your thoughts, the more you're going to pound away at others and miss the opportunity to be a loving, kind, peaceful person. Just don't hang out with that person. So I have a question for you. It's almost time to end. Do you know where your mind is? This is an amazing life we have available to us, a human incarnation. We can self reflect. We can enjoy our life. We can be challenged by our life. We can suffer. I mean, there's pain and suffering in this physical body. We can disagree with others, but we don't have to lose the connection to ourself. I know from experience that it takes a lot less effort to not be agitated. It takes so much effort to get upset. And it takes no effort to remain in balance. And again, that doesn't mean you agree with everyone. I don't live in Tibet, so I don't eat goats. But I'm not going to tell the Tibetans that they're bad people because they're eating goats. It's an amazing journey. So Raja Yoga is a practice of training your mind to stay in synchronization with God, with the unified field, with the source. And when you are connected to the unified field, you have access to expanded knowledge. Our endocrine system, our emotional self, and the physical body, the endocrine system, it's designed to feel the world. But if the mind is distorting and trying to project what you believe is true onto the world, you are disconnected from your own emotional being. You miss the juice. And I do it enough times to be able to compare. I like knower better. The practice of meditation then starts with concentration. Pick something and focus on it. Every time your mind wanders, just go back to it until you've reached a place of narod, wavelessness, so you can then place your attention on the one who knows your mind is clear. Those are two distinct vibrational levels. One is infinite, one is finite. One is ever changing. You, us, our true self is never changing. It's in constant harmony with the whole. And for that, I can't find anything better to do in an incarnation. So I appreciate your time, your energy. It's nice because I get to speak it, which means it reinforces it for me. So thank you. Practice it. Next time you're upset, just stop and say, who's upset? Oh, it's my mind. Who am I? I'm the one who knows I'm upset. Boom. You snap out of it with practice, but you can snap out of it. Concentration leads to meditation. Meditation, if you focus on the knower enough, you live in the knower state and your mind and body flows with you. You are in control. Thank you.